This woman chose to follow a small child, whom she caught stealing food from her store, in order to discover where she was taking all of her spoils. She just started crying when she realized who the girl was giving the dinner to. Welcome to USA Stories channel. Do not forget to subscribe and activate the bell button to receive all new updates. Now let's go to the story. A grocery business was owned by Kimberly Cook. She had been a long-time resident of this town, so she knew the majority of the patrons by name and would frequently strike up a discussion with some of them. She would make sure, at closing time, that food items that wouldn't last the next day were disposed of in the charity bins in front of the store. There, those in extreme poverty might pick up a day's worth of food. She was familiar with the regulars and always treated them with respect and kindness. She saw a little girl approach the donation bin covertly one day with 2 empty bags. It appeared as though the girl was unsure of herself and felt compelled to take the meal. The girl looked about for a moment before coming over to the dumpsters and beginning to fill her bags with some of the vegetables. Kimberly turned to see whether someone else, an adult, was with her, but she saw no one. Kimberly cautiously approached the young child, who appeared scared, although wearing a broad smile. To try to calm her down, she talked in a gentle and quiet voice. She started by asking the bashful girl what her name was, but she simply bowed her head and remained silent. Kimberly inquired about her parents' whereabouts. The girl proceeded to stuff food items into her bags, acting as though she didn't hear the query. Kimberly could only reassure the girl that she was free to have some food and that she was always welcome to seek assistance if she needed it. The little girl rushed off with her valuables securely tucked under her arms without responding. For the remainder of the day, Kimberly couldn't shake the image of this little kid in tears. She tossed about in bed that night, wondering about her. She might startle the girl and possibly lose the opportunity to offer any significant support, even though she knew the kid needed aid. She vowed to watch out for the girl in silence. She spotted her the next day, at the same hour, doing the same ritual as the day before, and it was almost with a sigh of relief. Kimberly made a promise to herself not to become involved, but she couldn't follow through, so she thought up a strategy. She attempted to follow the girl home after asking her shop assistant to take care of the store. She was able to follow her at a safe distance while waiting in her car. Since the youngster didn't talk to or encounter any adults on her way home, it was obvious that she was on her own. Kimberly managed to track the girl in her car until she vanished into a dimly lit alley. It was time for the store owner to resume her foot chase. They were traveling through an unappealing location that appeared hazardous and unclean. The girl simply continued going toward the place she called home, carrying the bags in her arms. Before she could even enter the home, she had to pass a field of crops. It was actually a garage that had functioned as a dwelling, not a real house. The girl went inside and left the door open, allowing the store owner to have a quick look. Finding out who was with the small child took some time for Kimberly. She was shocked to see that no adult was waiting in the house, not even her parents, grandparents, or mother. The girl appeared to be the head of the household instead. In addition to caring for her younger brother, she also had a sick-looking dog. This poor girl was making her own decisions about providing for her family. While Kimberly was still processing what she had just seen, the little girl noticed her and slammed the door shut. Kimberly talked outside the door, and at first, the girl didn't pay attention. The store owner reassured her that she was there to help and that she didn't want to hurt them. The young child hesitated for a little while longer before cautiously opening the door. She pleaded with Kimberly not to contact the police, and the kind woman promised her she wouldn't. Kimberly noticed just the small child as she went inside the garage. The child started weeping as soon as she was asked what had happened to the boy and the dog. She pleaded with Kimberly not to take her brother Jason away from her, saying she would take care of him. The girl introduced the dog as Timmy and said her name was Stacy. Stacy hesitated to say anything more at first, but Kimberly expertly guided the conversation so that she began to unwind and provide some crucial facts. It would have broken anyone's heart to hear what the little child told her. Stacy said her parents were with the angels at this time. She and her brother had been playing outside when their house caught fire 2 weeks prior. The fire engine arrived and attempted to put out the fire, even though they had no idea what had transpired. Her parents were taken to the hospital by ambulance not too long after. They did not return. Because of how their parents had passed away, Mrs. Green, or someone like her, had warned them that the police would come to get them. At that moment, Stacy chose to flee her house out of fear. Stacy was relieved to have discovered the food bins at the supermarket, so she could take care of her brother and their dog when they moved into this garage. Kimberly was crying now, but she had to fight the need to cry. How on earth could a little kid of her age be responsible for so much? She was also perplexed as to why the grown-ups in the narrative had failed to reassure the kids that their parents' misfortune was not their fault. Fortunately, Kimberly was successful in persuading Stacy to accompany her. The proprietor of the business had to guarantee the young girl that she would not be taken away from her brother before she would accept the deal. She promised herself that she would stop at nothing to keep Stacy and Jason together. She even pledged to take Timmy to the veterinarian to ensure his well-being. Stacy phoned Jason when she was certain she could trust Kimberly. Holding the ailing puppy in his arms, he emerged from a dimly lit part of the garage. After walking back to Kimberly's car, they followed her as she drove straight to her residence. When she brought 2 odd children and a sick dog home, can you picture the look of astonishment and amazement on her husband Josh's face? Josh believed that calling the police would be the wisest course of action, but Kimberly informed her husband that she was not going to break her commitment to Stacy at this particular moment. They got in touch with a social worker who made arrangements for the 2 abandoned kids to be in foster care temporarily. Thankfully, the agreement pleased the cops. The following 2 weeks were unusual and exhilarating. As Kimberly got to know these 2 adorable children, she realized how much anguish they must have endured. She searched every social media platform in the region and the internet for any notice on the 2 missing children and their dog, but she was unable to find one. For now, all she could affirm was that Mrs. Green was an old neighbor, unrelated to the children, and sadly unable to care for these small orphans. Furthermore, it didn't appear like any family was trying to find them. Josh and Kimberly had already given up on having children of their own and were in contact with a social worker to discuss the possibility of adoption years ago. They were currently here, taking excellent care of this brother and sister pair. Under their tender care, Stacy and Jason were flourishing, and Timmy the dog had fully recovered. Josh and Kimberly's hearts changed in some way. Perhaps this encounter wasn't accidental. Perhaps these kids were meant to be their new children, and it was fate that they came into their lives. There was no going back after 2 more weeks. In order to formally adopt Stacy, Jason, and Timmy the dog, Kimberly and Josh began the adoption papers. These 4 people joined together to make a new family, although it took some time because the adoption's conditions were a little unusual. Stacy vowed never to take on the heavy burden of providing for her little family and taking care of her younger brother. She now had devoted parents who could meet their every need. A store owner's vigilante actions saved the lives of 2 young orphans and their dog, and as a result, she was able to reunite with her long-desired family. What a fantastic conclusion. How do you feel about grocery businesses putting charity bins? Would you think about taking in foster children that require short-term care? Leave a comment below to let us know. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you later. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you enjoyed the tale, the next video that plays on your screen will probably move you too.